Hi guys, it's Sunshine and welcome once more to my studio. So today we're jumping straight into Gradients 102, the sphere, which is sphery. So basically this is a continuation of Gradients 101, which is an episode I did sometime last year. If you haven't gone and seen it and done it, go do that. I will wait. Anyway, I'm going to say that is long enough because I don't have all day. So we are going into spheres today. Yeah, spheres, that's right. Because it's kind of the continuation of the gradients. So we're using pencil today. In the previous gradients episode, I used watercolors, but watercolor, pencil, it's all basically the same thing. You're graduating from light to dark and you want to do it as smoothly as possible. So that's kind of what we're doing today. And the reason that we're doing a sphere today is so you get better at doing your shapes and you turn a 2D object into a 3D object. So we'll be using things like light sources and nice smooth blending techniques to get you better at that general blending gradient thing. Yeah, anyway, this is how I got better, so hopefully it will help you guys get better. So without any further ado, let's go get started with our sphere. Okay, so I have 3 pencils today. Now these bad boys are going to be really integral to what we're doing today. So first up I have a 4H. Now this is a much harder pencil than I would normally use, but it's really good for the light areas in our gradient on our sphere. Next I have a HB. This is just the standard HB pencil. You probably have them at school or in the office or whatever. This is our medium weighted pencil for our mediums in our gradient. Now this one is a 6B. Now the 6B is going to be the softest pencil that we have, and it's just going to do all our harsh darks. It's just a lot easier to get the darks happening with the 6B because it's super duper soft and a lot of grey lead will go onto the paper. Now you can use just one pencil if you want to. If you just have one pencil at home, you don't have all these 3 pencils, you can totally just use one pencil. You just need to press harder around the base of the sphere and lighter around the top. So it's really about alternating your pressure points, whereas I'm able to kind of keep it all the same pressure, which makes it a lot easier for me because I've got the 3 different weights in pencil. Anyway, I'm going to show you how these weights work together and how we might gradient them together. Okay, so I'm just taking my 4H pencil and I'm going to put down I guess a row of this pencil on top of itself so you guys can see the weight. I just really want you to see the difference in the pencil weights and how they work together. So this one is a 4H. Now the next one we have is the HB, so I'm going to do the same thing. And now for the 6B. So you can really see the contrast between them. So light, medium, and dark. And this is exactly what we want for our sphere. So what I'm just going to do now is do a gradient of all 3 colors, just a simple block gradient so you guys can see how they sort of fit together or merge together. So starting with my 4H, I'm going to bring that all the way out here. Bring in the HB and the 6B. I'm just going to grab that 4H again and go out a bit further so you can see it a bit more. All blended together in that gradient there. So this is a really rough gradient, but it just shows you the difference between the contrast. So we start with light, we go to medium, and then we go to dark. So this is basically what we're going to be doing on our sphere. So let's take this away and have a look at our sphere shape. Alrighty, so today we're going to need a very special piece of equipment. An orange. So you can use an apple, an orange, anything that is vaguely spherical that you have at home, because this is going to be our model or our sphere. So I'm going to pop it down on the paper because this will cast a nice shadow for us. And I also need a torch because this is going to be our light source, and depending on where the light source is going to depend on where our shadows are going to fall. So for example, if I put my light source up here on the right hand side, we've got a shadow on the left hand side. So we've got this separated into 3. Where the light hits is called a highlight, a mid-tone, this back area here where the light's not falling as much, and a shadow. And this is around the base of the orange and the back of the orange where the shadow is falling from the orange itself. If we change it over to this way, we have a highlight here, mid-tone here, and a shadow here. We can also go above, so our shadow is below. You've got the highlight here, mid-tone around the circumference, and then a shadow around the base. So something else we can consider with the same subject in the same angle with the same light source, say above like this, is we've got our shadow here, right? We've got our highlight here, we've got our mid-tones here. This is a soft light, so it's a softer gradient over the whole of the subject. So we've got our highlight, mid-tone, and our shadow. Or we can go for a hard lighting. If I do this and put like more of a spotlight on our orange, we have a strong, bright, hard highlight here. And then our mid-tones are definitely a lot darker, and our shadow around the base of the orange and on the shadow on the surface of the paper is a lot harder as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna get rid of that orange over here. We'll just pop that there. Now I've got 6 steps for you guys. This is how I'm going to break my spheres down. It makes sense, right? It's all going to be very simple, very easy to do, but this is the steps we're going to take, and I will take you through each step as we go along. Step 1, we're going to draw a circle. Now I have a lens cap here because I am terrible at drawing circles. When I do them, they turn out more like squiggles, so I need something to trace around. Like that. Isn't that a beautiful circle? And for my second step, I'm going to take my 4H pencil and I'm going to put my light source here. And I'm going to put my highlight here. And basically what I'm going to do is colour in the whole rest of that sphere. This is the start of our mid-tones, I guess you could say. And what we're trying to do is make this colouring in stage as smooth as possible. So we want to blend it all together as nicely as we can. Don't worry too much if you're a little bit heavy-handed on the pencil like I am. I've never been one of those people that has been good at like the light strokes with the pencil. It doesn't matter too much at all because we're using a 4H. It's a really hard pencil. You can push down quite hard before it becomes dark. So don't worry too much about that and just go nuts. Do your thing. Step 3, I am taking my HB pencil, which is our mid-tones pencil, and I'm basically doing exactly the same thing as we did with our highlights pencil. So we've got our highlight section here, right? Now, because this is our mid-tones pencil, we want to go further away from our highlights than our 4H was. So as you go towards the shadows, we want to get darker. As we come towards the highlights, we want to get lighter. Starting out near the right-hand side with the HB mid-tone pencil, because I want to decide as I go along how far I want my HB layer to come out onto the sphere towards the highlight. If you need some more seamless blending and you're finding that the HB kind of isn't blending together as well as you'd hope, just switch back to the 4H and just blend the two together. So we want to blend the HB seamlessly with the 4H. You might notice that my hand movements are almost following the shape of the sphere. It's just a slightly easier way to get a nice smooth gradient than if I were to do just a simple crosshatch motion that you might normally do when you shade with pencils. This way I'm more able to get a nice smooth blend. So stage 3 is done, let's move on to stage 4. So we have our 6B pencil. For this pencil, we are focusing in on our shadows, so the dark side of our sphere. I'm outlining the whole of our sphere with this dark, so it really makes it stand out. Okay, same thing with our HB. We can bring this in to soften up the edges between the HB and the 6B. If you're following along at home with just one pencil, this is the point where you would push really hard down on that pencil to get that darkness. So moving into step 5. Now step 5 is basically we're creating a shadow. So our light source is here, and so our shadow is going to fall behind, kind of here-ish. If we were to take our torch, so if I go higher on that, the shadow falls underneath. if I go lower on that, the shadow falls behind. Let's do that now. So let's grab our 4H and we're going to pencil in where we think our shadow is going to go. Keep in mind, if you're using a hard light, you're going to get a hard shadow. And if you're using a soft light, you're going to get a slightly fuzzy shadow. So it's a little bit fuzzy around the edges. I'm using a soft light today, so it's going to be a little bit fuzzy around the edges. I'm just going to colour in that shadow, and this is basically what we did before with the sphere with our 4H. So we're colouring it in as hard or as light as you like, all over that shadow shape. Okay, at the moment this shape's a little bit hard, so what I'm going to do is just take my little eraser here and I'm just going to go around the edges so it's got that kind of soft, floaty, fluffy, fuzzy look. Alrighty, let's move into step 6, which is we're basically doing the same thing, right? But we're going to be taking our 6B, which is obviously our much darker gradient colour, and we're going to be putting our darkest dark where our darkest dark is on our sphere, and then gradually coming out from that. Don't forget you can use your 4H pencil to come back over that if you need a slightly smoother gradient between the 6B and your 4H. Okay, so I'm trying to keep it nice and smooth, and I'm really putting this dark close in to where those other darks are on the right hand side. Ta-da! Our sphere is very sphere looking and done for today. And we're done. So it's not very hard. I mean, I can do it, so I'm sure you guys can do it. So we've got step 1, we've drawn a circle. Step 2, we've got our lightest gradient. Step 3, we've got our mid-tone gradient. Step 4, we've got our dark gradient. Step 5, we've got our first layer of shadows. Step 6 is we darken those shadows off. So there's not a whole lot to it. I'm sure you guys with practice will absolutely nail it. It's a really, really great habit to get into doing though, because practice makes perfect, and everybody needs to practice, including me. Now, I did pencils today because I figure everybody has pencils. In a couple of weeks, so I'm thinking I might do a really quick little tutorial of how to do something similar in watercolor. So we're going to do raindrops. Basically, it's exactly the same as a sphere, but it's just a little bit different in technicality, I guess, because it's watercolor. Anyway, that is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something, or it helped you learn something, or made it slightly easier for you to do. I don't know, I just hope it worked for you. Don't forget you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you check out Facebook particularly because I've decided that the book club is going to happen on there, so make sure that you're following me. I'm also doing Twitch once a week at the moment for the foreseeable future on a Friday night at 8 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's really fun. I just sit down and paint, so come and hang out with me. Anyway, that is it for today's episode. I hope you have a brilliant day. Please stay safe in this crazy, crazy time and keep on painting. Bye!